The day had just begun, yet heartbreak had already found a way to break the morning light. Two little twin girls, their dresses stained with dirt and their cheeks streaked with dried tears, stood trembling inside the warm glow of a cozy cafe. Their curls were tangled like weeds fighting for survival, their small hands tightly clutched together as though holding on to the last piece of comfort they had left in the world. Their voices cracked under the weight of hunger and fear when they looked up at the man sitting with his young son at the table. They asked him if they could eat with them. Their request was small, innocent, but it carried a lifetime of pain. The single dad froze, his heart squeezing sharply as if destiny had just reached inside and forced him to feel what they had endured. If you are watching this on Kindness Diaries, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you believe that love, compassion, and second chances can change someone's life forever. The cafe was bright with soft golden lights and the smell of breakfast drifting through the air. Fresh pastries and warmth surrounded every customer, except the two girls who stood like shadows in a world that had forgotten them. The man, Adrian, stared into their teary eyes, unable to speak even a single word. His son, Matteo, only 5 years old, watched them with a quiet concern that no child should ever know. His small hands rested near the untouched slice of toast on his plate, hesitating as if he suddenly realized the true meaning of hunger wasn't about food, it was about loneliness. Adrian's throat tightened. He hadn't expected this morning to be any different from the others. He brought Matteo here because it was their little weekend ritual, something he had created after Matteo's mother passed away 2 years ago in a tragic car accident. Ever since that day, mornings felt cold and empty. Adrian tried to fill them with something gentle, something normal, something that helped Matteo forget the echoes of grief that still haunted their home. But now, staring at these two little strangers crying in front of him, he felt that same kind of ache again. Loss recognized loss. The twin girls, thin, exhausted, dressed in matching faded pink dresses, looked at Adrian as though he were the last bit of kindness left in the world. Their eyes glistened with desperation. He could see they were not simply asking for food, they were asking to be seen. Adrian took a slow breath, his mind caught in the storm of uncertainty. He wondered where their parents were, who had let them wander like this, and why their faces looked like they had spent days on the streets. The cafe-goers had noticed them, some turning away, pretending not to see them. To them, the girls were an inconvenience, a disruption to their peaceful breakfast and filtered coffee. Life had taught Adrian a cruel truth: the world rarely stopped for someone else's suffering. But he remembered how many nights he cried silently while holding Matteo in his arms, wishing someone, just one person, had offered a gentle word, a warm meal, or even a moment of understanding during their darkest days. That kind of help never came. He had climbed out of grief alone, step by painful step. Seeing those little girls reminded him too much of what silence costs. And yet he hesitated, not because he lacked compassion, but because fear gnawed inside him. What if he got involved and made things worse? What if they weren't safe? What if people judged him, or worse, accused him of causing trouble? His heart wanted to act, but his mind was paralyzed by possibilities. The twins dropped their heads slightly, as if expecting rejection. It was a heartbreaking sight, a child too young to hope anymore. Adrian couldn't bear it. He remembered how Matteo had once looked up at him the same way when he asked if his mother was ever coming home. He couldn't allow these children to feel abandoned too. Adrian gently pulled out 2 chairs from the table. The girls flinched at the sudden movement, but when they realized what he was offering, their eyes widened. They cautiously stepped closer, like wild animals unsure whether safety was truly before them. Matteo gave a small, encouraging smile, scooting his plate aside so the girls could sit. He had inherited his mother's gentleness. It made Adrian's chest swell with bittersweet pride. The girls sat down, still trembling. Adrian signaled the waiter with urgency, asking for 2 plates full of the warmest breakfast the cafe could offer. While waiting, he noticed the bruises on their arms, some fresh, some faded. Their nails were cracked, and dirt clung stubbornly to their skin. He imagined what kind of nightmares they must have lived through. When the food arrived, the girls didn't wait for permission. They devoured every piece like children who had learned the terrifying reality of hunger. Tears streamed down their faces while they chewed, as though relief hurt too. Adrian carefully asked them questions, not loudly, not forcefully. Just simple things like their names. The older twin by a few seconds was named Nora, and her sister was Mila. Their voices were barely above a whisper as they shared that they hadn't seen their mother since last night. They had slept behind a dumpster because home wasn't safe anymore. Their mother had told them to run, to hide when her boyfriend started shouting and breaking things again. The girls woke up alone in the dark and couldn't find her afterward. So they walked aimlessly into the morning, following the scent of food and prayers they wished someone would answer. Adrian clenched his hands together underneath the table, forcing himself to remain calm while rage erupted inside him. No child should know this kind of terror. He thought of his wife, Clara, how she had spent every waking second protecting Matteo, loving him so fiercely that Adrian always felt safe when she was near. She had been everything these girls desperately needed. His eyes welled with helplessness. He wanted to fix this. To protect them. To offer more than a meal. As the girls slowed their eating, exhaustion began to drag their eyelids down. They leaned against each other, too tired to even sit straight. Adrian realized they could barely keep their tiny bodies upright. His decision was made. He told them softly that he would help find their mother and keep them safe until then. The relief on their faces was immediate, a single moment of hope in a timeline of fear. Matteo reached across the table and held Nora's hand. Something small but powerful shifted in the air. The family Adrian had lost wasn't gone, it was growing in an unexpected way. Later that afternoon, social services arrived at the cafe after Adrian made calls explaining everything. But the thought of being separated again made the girls panic. They clung to Adrian like he was the only safe place they'd ever known. Seeing their trust, the officer asked if Adrian would consider temporary foster care while they located the girl's mother. The question hit him deeply. He looked at Matteo, wondering if he was ready to share his father, his space, his heart. Matteo nodded without hesitation and whispered that no kid should be alone. Adrian broke down. He hadn't cried openly since Clara's funeral. But today, the universe reminded him that grief doesn't only take, it gives, too. Sometimes it gives the chance to save someone else from breaking. If this story touched your heart so far, please support Kindness Diaries by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your love helps more real stories of compassion come alive. For the next few days, Adrian opened his home and heart to the twins. He washed their clothes, fed them, comforted them through nightmares, and watched slowly as their smiles returned. Matteo became their friend, their brother, their hero in tiny shoes. One evening, as Adrian tucked them into bed, Mila looked up and sleepily asked if they could stay forever. The question shattered and healed him all at once. They weren't just guests anymore, they were family. Please comment below what you would do if you saw children like Nora and Mila in need of help. Weeks later, the girl's mother was found. She was bruised but alive, and she cried harder than her daughters when she saw them safe and cared for. She thanked Adrian with a gratitude no words could hold. And yet, even when reunited, Nora and Mila would still visit often. Matteo insisted they always had a place at their breakfast table. In the end, Adrian learned something priceless, that love doesn't divide when shared, it multiplies. Life had taken someone precious from him, but it had returned two little souls who needed him just as much as he needed them. His home wasn't broken anymore, it was filled with new beginnings. The story closes on a sunlit morning inside the same cafe, where 4 plates of breakfast now sit side by side. This time, there are no tears, no hunger, no fear. Just laughter and the sound of a family healing together.